Anna's mornings were as predictable as the sunrise. At precisely 5 a.m., her alarm would chime, softly pulling her from the depths of sleep. The same gentle melody each day, signaling the beginning of another perfectly structured day. She'd take a moment, allowing herself a few seconds to stretch under the warm covers. Her feet would slip into the waiting slippers at the side of the bed, and she'd glide into her routine with the same precision she'd applied for years. Coffee first. The rich, dark aroma filled the quiet kitchen as she prepared her morning brew, the rhythmic sound of the coffee maker humming in the background. Everything in its place: a spotless kitchen counter, a color-coded calendar on the fridge, a meticulously arranged spice rack where nothing was ever out of order. Outside, the world was still and calm, bathed in the faint glow of the early morning light. Inside, Anna's life followed the same quiet, deliberate order. As the coffee brewed, she would check her work emails, her mind already racing ahead to the tasks awaiting her at the bank where she worked. Every minute, every action was planned. It had to be. For Anna, control was everything. Her job demanded it. She worked as a financial consultant at one of the city's largest banks, a fast-paced, high-pressure environment. Her routine kept her sharp, focused, and on top of her game. She thrived on structure, on knowing what came next. Every morning, she left her house at exactly 6:15 a.m. Dressed in perfectly pressed business attire, her briefcase neatly packed and ready for the day. By 6:30, she would be on the train, her favorite window seat already hers. The train ride was her sacred time, a brief, quiet buffer between the stillness of her morning and the fast-paced demands of her workday. It was on that train where she centered herself, prepared her mind for the challenges ahead, and set her intentions for the day. It was, quite simply, the way she kept everything in balance. Her routine wasn't just a habit. It was a finely tuned machine, a system that allowed her to feel in control in a world that often felt chaotic. But then, one morning, everything changed. The day began as all the others had. The familiar alarm, the coffee, the neatly planned schedule. But as Anna moved through her routine with the same calm efficiency, something unexpected happened. From the living room came a loud crash. The sound echoed through the house, jarring her from her tranquil morning. Her heart leaped in her chest as she rushed into the room, finding her cat sitting guiltily beside a shattered vase. Water and flowers were scattered across the floor, the mess seeping into the rug beneath the table. Anna stared at the scene, her mind racing. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not today. Not ever. She knelt down to clean up the broken pieces, her movements hurried, her eyes darting toward the clock. 6:10 a.m. She was already late. Panic crept in, tightening in her chest as she frantically mopped up the water, every second slipping away from her. By the time she grabbed her bag and rushed out the door, her usual calm, confident demeanor had been replaced with a sense of urgency. She could still make it if she hurried. But as she neared the station, the sight of the train's doors closing, the whistle blowing, and the train pulling away crushed any hope she had of staying on schedule. For a moment, she stood frozen on the platform, watching the train disappear down the tracks. Her world, once perfectly in sync, was now off balance. She had missed the train she had never missed in years of following the same routine. In that moment, everything felt wrong. How could something so small, so seemingly insignificant, send her entire day spiraling out of control? The next train wouldn't arrive for another 20 minutes. She knew she was already too late. The tightness in her chest deepened as she sat waiting, her mind filled with worst-case scenarios. When she finally arrived at the office, her worst fears were confirmed. The meeting had already started without her. As she hurried to her desk, her phone buzzed incessantly with messages. Her inbox flooded with emails marked urgent. It seemed like the day was determined to remind her just how out of control things had become. Every task felt like an uphill battle, every interaction tinged with the anxiety that had started the moment she missed the train. That evening, When Anna finally returned home, she was exhausted, not just from the long hours or the workload, but from the feeling that her life was slipping through her fingers. As she sat in her living room, her eyes fell on the repaired vase, now neatly placed back on the table. But the vase, like her day, would never quite be the same. She sat quietly, replaying the events of the day in her mind. How had something as small as missing a train derailed her entire day? Why had it affected her so deeply? The more she thought about it, the clearer it became. It wasn't the missed train. It wasn't even the broken vase. It was the realization that her dependence on routine had become a crutch. Her life was so tightly controlled that even the smallest disruption sent her spiraling. In the stillness of that moment, Anna began to question everything. Had her pursuit of order and perfection made her inflexible? Had she lost the ability to adapt, to go with the flow when things didn't go according to plan? The next morning, the alarm chimed at 5:00 a.m. as usual. But this time, Anna didn't rush. She didn't dive straight into her emails or prepare her breakfast in a flurry of movement. Instead, she sat quietly with her coffee, watching the world outside her window. The city was waking up slowly, and for the first time in a long while, so was she. As she sat there, breathing in the quiet morning air, she realized something important. Life was never meant to follow a perfect script. No matter how meticulously she planned, there would always be things beyond her control. And that was okay. Maybe the lesson she needed to learn wasn't about holding everything together. It was about learning to let go when it started to slip. Maybe resilience was about more than sticking to a routine. It was about bending with the wind when life threw unexpected storms her way. In the days that followed, Anna began to loosen her grip on the strict routine she had once relied on. She still woke up early, still caught the train to work, but with a new sense of ease. When things didn't go according to plan, she didn't panic. She adapted. She began to embrace the messiness of life, the small surprises and interruptions that once caused her anxiety. At work, her colleagues noticed the change. She was just as effective, just as focused, but there was something lighter about her. She wasn't rushing from one task to the next, constantly chasing time. Instead, she moved through her day with a calm sense of purpose. And when the inevitable disruptions came, a last-minute project, a delayed train, she took them in stride. One morning, as she sat on the train, watching the city pass by, Anna smiled to herself. The train wasn't moving as quickly as usual, and she knew she might be a few minutes late. But for once, that didn't bother her. She had discovered something far more valuable than her old routine, the ability to handle whatever came her way. Life was unpredictable, and that was part of its beauty. As the train rolled into the station, she stepped off with a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. The missed train had felt like a disaster in the moment, but now she saw it for what it was, an opportunity. It had taught her to let go of the need for control and embrace the unpredictability of life. It wasn't about sticking rigidly to a plan. It was about learning to adapt and thrive when things went off course. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city, Anna walked home with a new perspective. She understood now that life would always have its twists and turns, its broken vases and missed trains. But she also knew that she had the strength to navigate them, and that made all the difference. Life doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes it's the unexpected moments that teach us the most. If Anna's story resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. Are you holding on too tightly to routine? Maybe it's time to let go of the need for perfection and embrace the beauty of life's unpredictability. Share your thoughts or a time when you had to adapt in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an inspiring new video.